Hi guys and welcome to my video talking about characters who I think will die in One Piece. Yeah, a little late with this, just I forgot I had stuff to do, but yeah, I got the video out, that's all that matters at the moment. I'm gonna split the video up into three categories basically, just like to get you an idea of what I'm gonna be talking about. So first I'm gonna be talking about the people I think will be dying in Wano, just because I think that especially with Pedro's death in recent chapters, I think it's very, very likely that we're going to see deaths in Wano, which is supposed to be a much, much bigger arc since we have all the Straw Hats there and actually going up against the Yonko, unlike here where we're not really doing that. Then I'm going to be talking about some major characters, non-Straw Hats, who I think will be dying, just a few of them, because I think there will be a lot of characters about deaths, but I'm just going to talk about the most important ones for like that we're either very close to or that I think will have a huge impact on the story. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about what Straw Hats I think will be dying. And at the very, very end, I'll be talking about a very particular Straw Hat because I have a very particular vision about how this Straw Hat will die and why stuff will go down like that. But let's talk about Wano first. Because that arc is like very, very close, and I think it'd be great if we saw some character deaths here, because it's been hyped up for so long. Like we've all been wanting to go to Wano for so long. And I think the first character, and I've mentioned this multiple times before, the first character I think will die in Wano is Jinbei. And there are a lot of reasons for why I think Jinbei will die. Generally, I just think he'll die. Like, I there's no way, I don't see him making it to the end of the series anyway. I've never seen that. And another reason is just the fact that he's like a kind of legitimately a Straw Hat at this point. And it's not that I don't want Jinbei to join the crew, because I really love Jinbei. And of all the characters in this series that I could want to join the crew, Jinbei would be my pick, just because he has a history with Luffy. He was there when Luffy lost everything he had dear. Like, he'd lost his crew, he'd lost Ace, he was in a very, very dark place. And I'm very much, like, I'm not against adding a Straw Hat that wasn't there pre-time skip, but it's not the same, like, if Carrot joins or if, I don't know who else would join. Like, Carrot is, like, the number one pick at this moment for, like, a new one. But there's something special about the crew pre-time skip, and for Jinbei, it makes sense that he joined. But I also don't see him, like, legitimately as a Straw Hat just because of the crew interactions and how the story is supposed to go. Because Jinbei is very knowledgeable in a different way that Brook or Robin or even Zoro is knowledgeable about the pirate world. And one of the aspects of One Piece is just the mystery aspect, and I think Jinbei just knows a little bit too much of this world for it to keep down the same path. And maybe Oda wants to change that, but at the same time, I think it's not that Jinbei would ruin the dynamic that the crew has, but I think that it would lose a little bit of the mystery we have going on. So I don't think he'd fit. And just because of all the goddamn death flags there is on him, like, his entire character from the beginning when we first met him, he just seemed like a character who was just gonna die. So I think Jinbei will die in Wano, because that gives him a chance to be a part of the Straw Hats and do something good and choose where he dies and who he dies for, as he really wanted to back in Marineford. And he gets to interact with all the crew members and they all, like, have their thing. But if he dies, it's not like it's gonna be impactful, because obviously it's Jinbei, we all love him, Luffy loves him a lot, but it's not gonna be like he's been there, like he's been a Straw Hat for 200 chapters or 500 chapters or 800 chapters. So it's gonna be different, like it's gonna be close to the heart, and it's gonna give the impression of how hard it is to take down a Yonko if you have someone like Jinbei, a former Shichibukai, taking down. So that's my number one pick for Jinbei, and I talked about that for 3 minutes, so I'm gonna make the other ones a little shorter to not make this too long. So of people I really do think will die in Wano, I actually only have one or two left. You'll see why. Because I think about 3 people will die, but I don't know exactly who the third one will be. Maybe. But my second or third pick would be Ino Arashi and or Nekomamushi. I think one or both of them will die, just because there are a lot of reasons why I think this, and I think most of it is just based on like my own instincts and how that would fit the story, but we've already seen them like reconcile, so there's no longer need for like a king of the night and a king of the day. Which means that if one of them dies, it's kind of like, it's not like it's okay, obviously, but because they made up, it would mean that they die without regrets, because that would probably, like, if they died while still being, how do you call it, not friends, unfriendly towards each other, they'd probably die with regret because they used to be so great friends. But now that they've made up, there's no longer need for like two kings in so. And as Pedro said, the Straw Hats seemed like the promised people. If one of them dies, it's kind of like, okay, they would get like a satisfying death. I think my personal pick would be Inuarashi, even though he's my favorite of the two. But I think just because it would be more fun to see Nekomamushi rule, because Inuarashi seems like the more like diplomatic leader. He's like kind of like the nice uncle kind of guy. So I think Inuarashi will probably die. Nekomamushi might die along with him. I don't know who would rule so then. But I think they've like seen their time, or at least one of them. I have a very strong feeling about Inuarashi and or Nekomamushi dying. Just, it makes sense in my head. I think there is a possibility for Supernova dying, but I think maybe it's also a little too early. But I think if Supernova dies, it's probably Basil Hawkins. But I'm not like entirely sure about that. But it's just like if I have to choose another person just to fulfill my 3 people quota. But it might be a new character. Who knows? Like it might be one of the samurai. Who knows? Someone I think 3 people would die. I think that's a good number. But let's move on to my second category, which is, I'm gonna call this major characters non-Straw Hat version. And I'm just gonna start with the most obvious one that I think everyone will die. Everyone should think that this character will die, but apparently I've spoken to like a few people who just either in denial or don't think he'll actually die. And that person is Shinx. And I think basically like the bottom line for him dying is, I don't understand how the story will actually go on if he doesn't die, because the entire promise between him and Luffy is set up on the fact that when Luffy meets him again, he's gonna return the hat, because it's a borrowed hat, and Luffy refers to this promise all the time, like he owes Shanks his life, and when he sees him, he's gonna give him back the hat, because blah blah blah. But he's Straw Hat Luffy. He can't be Straw Hat Luffy without the Straw Hat, so the only way for him to keep the hat is if Shanks die. I mean, of course, Shanks could be like, no, you keep it, you like assimilate the name, blah blah blah. But still, like, it makes more sense that it's like he gives him the hat back or something, Shanks dies, and like in his final moments gives it back to Luffy or whatever, I don't know. Or he dies and he and Luffy never meet, which is like the tragic kind of ending to it. I also do think he'll be killed by Blackbeard. But that's an entirely other theory I have. Just shortly, because I don't think I'll ever make a video about this, I just think that everyone, mostly everyone who's very dear and close to Luffy, who Luffy will lose, Blackbeard will take it away from him. Like, he's the cause of Ace's death. He'll kill Shanks, he'll kill a Straw Hat, I'll tell you who later, and he'll just fuck shit up for Luffy. But yeah, you can ask me about this, but I think that's like a good way to build up like the major villain of the story, that he just like slowly just fucks with Luffy throughout the series. But keeping with the theme of Shanks, I think that most of, if not all of the Yonko, current Yonko, or past I guess, because Whitebeard also fits this category, will die. And there are reasons for like all of them why I think they'll die. Like Kaido especially, because he's immortal, I think it's just like sweet justice if he dies for some reason, and I don't know how he would die, like drowning, I don't know, but I think he'll die just because he's immortal. But the major reasons why I think that the Yonko will die is basically because I think the entire system we have going on in the One Piece world, like with the Shichibukai, the Yonko, and just like the entire way that the world works, I think that will be broken down as part of like, maybe not the final arc, but part of the things that will happen when Luffy eventually reaches Raftel and fights the One Piece and the entire thing that's about like that thing. Which, like, I think most people agree with this, that the One Piece is like somehow connected to making the entire world like in one piece, like destroying the Red Line and the Grand Line along with it, to have like one world or whatever. But I think with doing that, you would have to destroy the current system, so you'd have to like, the government would have to be destroyed. The world, the way the world literally works, like in geographical terms, will be destroyed, and along with it the Yonkai Shichibukai system. And the best way to destroy the Yonkai system, because it's a pirate system, is simply just to kill off these people. So Kaido, obviously, I do really think Blackbeard will die in the end, and if it's, I'm not entirely sure if it will be by Luffy's hand, because I am very much a big fan of Luffy never killing anyone, but I'm also a fan of the idea that if Luffy kills someone, it would have to be Blackbeard. It wouldn't be Akainu, it would be Blackbeard. Because while Akainu definitely was the one who killed Ace, he was also doing his job. Like, being killed by a marine is not the same as being outed by someone you trusted, like a former Nakama. Like, that's just not the same. Like, Blackbeard did the bad thing here. Akainu is, yes, he's a bad person, obviously. But Luffy wouldn't blame him as much as Blackbeard for Ace's death. So yeah. My only like person where I'm like, I don't know if this Yonka will die is Big Mom, just because I can't envision her death, unlike with the other three. But she might die as well. I just don't know how or when in this series. I don't know with Kaido either, because I think it's too early for him to die in Wano, but maybe later, we'll see. But yeah, I have 2 more people on this list who I think will die. 3 actually. Let's start with villains, because I just talked about Akainu. I think he'll die as well, just because he's a bad guy. I think it again goes back to the fact that I think that everything will be changed and stuff. And Akainu being at the top of the Navy or the military or whatever you want to call it, he's gotta go. he has to die. And I think it was Roger, like from Roger Space, who pointed this out, and I thought that idea was so good, that we have yet to see a Delph user die from drowning. Like, we haven't seen a lot of people die, but we have not seen a Delph user die from drowning. And it would be so amazing for Akainu to go out this way, just because he's made of lava. And, you know, like, lava, when it gets cooled down, it turns to stone or whatever the frig. So it would be very satisfying to see him drown, of all people. So I'm very much for that theory. I think Roger mentioned it in the theory he also had about predicting One Piece character deaths. Perhaps. I feel like that's the video I have this idea from. But yeah, next character on my list. Let's stay with the bad guys. Doflamingo. Okay. And Doflamingo is just a character who has to go as well, just because he's so evil. He's important to keep in the story, because I feel like he still has a role to play, because he has such a huge network of just people and information and stuff like that, even though he's being sent to Impel Down. Well, I don't think we ever found out if they made it all the way to Impel Down, because they did try to free him like Jack did, and failed. But he definitely still has a role to play, and I think there's still background information, like there's the connection between him and Crocodile we still don't know shit about. And there are still things for him to do, but I think when that's over, he has to die, and I really do want Law to kill him this time, I guess. Because he deserves death. He's just such a bad guy, and I do really think that Law didn't really get the revenge that he, maybe not wanted, because I feel like he's satisfied in that part, but the revenge that I felt like he should have and needed, he didn't get that. He should get to kill Doflamingo. And yeah, that brings me to my next and final character on this part of the list, which is Law. I think Law will die. And I think, I don't know how, I really don't know the circumstances of this, but I really don't see Law surviving to the end of the series. And I think possibly one of the reasons he could go out is because of his devil fruit power, like the immortality aspect of it, that he can give immortality to someone. And I can see this go down 2 ways. The least likely is that he gives immortality to someone and then dies because of that, because we know that when he gives immortality to someone, the user then dies. I don't think that will happen. I think what will happen is that he will be given the choice between dying, or not dying, but just like something will happen, or he will have to give this person immortality, and he'll just like choose to kill himself or something. I don't know. Like, I think there'll be something more with this immortality aspect, because it wasn't really explored as much as I wanted it to be. When Doflamingo brought it up, like he was like, ooh, immortality. So I really think that we're gonna see more of that. I do also think that we're gonna see more of it when we get to Wano, because there might be a reason that Kaido is immortal, and that might be because of of Lost Devil Fruit, but we don't know. It could be something else. It could just be the Devil Fruit that he has. I have also seen theories that the reason that Kureha is so old is because she once like got the immortality thing or something. I don't know. But I think that will be the reason that he dies, for like either giving it to someone, or maybe like expanding someone's lifespan or whatever, just doing something, and that like his Devil Fruit will be the end of him, just like it was kind of the beginning of him, I guess. You get what I mean? Like he was saved due to the Devil Fruit, but then he will also die due to the Devil Fruit. Just sweet poetic justice, I guess. Okay, going on to Straw Hats, because this is a lot more fun to talk about, even though, you know, you don't want Straw Hats to die. But I'm gonna talk about the most obvious one first, because I think, again, this is widely agreed upon in the fandom that Luffy will definitely die by the end, or towards the end, or whatever. I am against the theory that he dies like Roger, just because I want him to go out differently. The idea that I have for Luffy is that he dies when he burns down Fishman Island. Because we know that, is it Madame Charlie? I think that's what her name is. Madame Charlie had the vision of Straw Hat Luffy standing amidst the flames of burning Fishman Island down, basically. And I would love for that to be how Luffy goes out. Standing at the bottom of the ocean, watching everything go down in flames as they're taking down the red line, I don't know. But I would love for him to go out somewhat like that. Like choosing his own death by doing good to other people or something like that. He might also, I don't want him to go out in battle, just because he doesn't necessarily, like, going out in battle doesn't necessarily mean that you lose this battle. Like, everyone could just die. Like, you could beat your opponent and still die from wounds, you know, like, kind of with the Mountain and Oberon. But I don't want him to go out in battle. I want him to, like, choose to do something that'll require sacrifice, and he'll decide to be that sacrifice. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be at Fishman Island. That's just the image that I have, because we know that'll happen at some point. And it fits with the image of me not wanting him to go out like Roger or go out in a battle, just because that's what I personally want. But tell me your ideas, because I feel like everyone have like the idea that Luffy will die. So if you have like a scenario for how he will die, tell me, because I'm very interested in seeing how people think he'll go out. But that also brings me to my next Straw Hat, because this is a Straw Hat who I think, no matter what, has to die alongside Luffy, and that's Zoro. And there are two reasons why I think this. First thing is just Zoro's loyalty levels for Luffy are just like through the roof. Every chapter that goes by, he gets like 10% more loyal to Luffy, and that's like a lot of loyalty. He's so loyal, and he's like, I will go through hell and back if that's what you want me to do. And he's like, he is the person who would follow Luffy everywhere, even in death. He would die for Luffy, but the thing is, because I know he would die for Luffy, we know that from Thriller Bargain, just generally his attitude, he's just so willing to die for his captain. Luffy's not gonna allow that. I think, like, Luffy, obviously, he's not gonna let any Straw Hat die before him. That's not his way. I do still think it'll happen, but Luffy will not allow a Straw Hat to die before him, not if he can help it. And losing Zoro is just not gonna do anything good for him. That's just not gonna happen. Because it would honestly break him. I think losing Zoro would be worse than losing any other of his crewmates, not because he's the first, and he's also the guy who Luffy, like, he promised Luffy that if anything came between him and his dream, even Luffy, he would cut him down. He's promised Luffy that his own dream is more important than Luffy, and we know that he's broken this promise. Just not out of Luffy's awareness. But Luffy has full trust in that if he protects everyone except for Zoro, Zoro will still stay alive. He has so much faith in Zoro staying alive and never dying, because Zoro promised him that he would let nothing get between him and his dream, not even Luffy, and he promised him that he would not lose a single fight until he's achieved his dream. So obviously I do believe that he will die after he's achieved his dream, but I think the loyalty and the trust that they have in each other will stand even beyond that point, because obviously they're Zoro and Luffy. The bond between those two, I'm just like, it's the best. But yeah, so Zoro can't die before Luffy, and I really don't think Luffy can die without Zoro, because I feel like Zoro will just feel like he has failed if Luffy dies before him. There's no way that'll happen. And I know I said that, yes, Luffy will die as some kind of sacrifice. It'll be like, not be in battle. That's another reason why I don't think it'll be in battle, because I guess Zoro would save him, I don't know. Zoro would jump before him and just like take whatever, the bullet or the sword, I don't know, I don't care. These two people just won't let each other die, but I don't see the series ending before Luffy's dead. So I think they'll die together, and with my vision of Luffy dying at Fishman Island, I just think Zoro will be right there beside him. Like, they'll exchange cups of sake and just watch the world burn and burn with it. Like, that's my vision for them. They either don't die, which I don't see as an option, or they die together. They cannot die separately. I do not believe that'll happen. Just, it would be so tragic. And that's another big reason for why I think Zoro will die. It's because of Rayleigh. Because Rayleigh was so loyal to Roger. At least that's the image we've gotten. And I talked with one of my friends about this like years ago. I mean, we're just like, Rayleigh's existence is so sad because he kind of lives with the shadow of Roger always with him. Like, what he's still doing, like, he's still doing stuff for Roger, like finding his like successor and stuff like that, by training Luffy and having faith that Luffy will make it to the end of the Grand Line and all that stuff. And I just don't want to see Zoro turn into that. I don't want to see Zoro being the person who just like lives with the ghost of Luffy kind of like guiding his entire life. So I want them to die together. I think that's a poetic ending, and just, it's so nice to see that they begin the story together and they make that promise, making it seem like their dreams are what's most important for them. And by the end of the day, it was just like the friendship that they had was just so important that, yes, they've achieved their dreams, but they'll go out together. I think that would be so sweet and poetic, and just, it makes me cry just thinking about it, but I think that would be so beautiful. And if it doesn't happen, I'll write a fanfiction about it, so. But that brings me to my last person, and I've talked for over 20 minutes. I did not mean to do that. The previous video I made was like 16 minutes long, but whatever. The last person, or the last Straw Hat that I'm 100% certain will die, is Brook. And I think Brook has to die. There's like, if I only have to choose one character in the entirety of One Piece, like the entire series, I would choose to kill Brook. Because Brook not dying in the series, like if we don't see an on-screen death of Brook, I think Brook will literally live forever. And I don't want to see that. Because Brook's entire tragic backstory is him having lived alone on a ship for 50 years among the ghosts of his friend. Like, they all died together. Like, I wanted Zoro and Luffy to go out. But Brook just came back to life because of his devil fruit. And he was so sad and lonely for 50 years of his life. Like, over half of his existence, he was alone on a ship. And only like once after 45 years, he came to Thriller Bark and just got his shadow stolen, so he couldn't even go out into the sunlight anymore. Like, Brook's backstory is one of the most tragic ones in One Piece, because it's just prolonged loneliness. It's so sad. And I don't want to see that ever again, because if Brook lives forever, he's gonna live to see all of his friends die some way or another. Like, if they die in a battle, of old age, of illness, of whatever they die of, they will die and he'll be left alone. Like, even Laboon will die at some point. Brook has to die to avoid the inevitable sad ending that he will otherwise have. He has to die. And this brings me back to what I said about Blackbeard. I think Blackbeard will kill him. And I think it makes sense for Blackbeard to kill him because I think, like, Brook, as I said, is basically immortal. And he's not only immortal in the sense that he has eternal life, like, you can cut off his head and he will not die. We've seen that happen. He can drown and he will not die because, like, basically he doesn't need to breathe and he doesn't need to eat to actually stay alive. Like, we know that he stayed on that ship for, like, 45 years without seeing anyone. And he didn't eat anything. I don't know where he got the tea from. Maybe he stole it from Fiddle the Bark, I don't know. But he definitely didn't eat anything for those 45 years. So we know that he doesn't actually need anything to survive because he's just a skeleton. So normal things that will kill him, like getting his head chopped off or drowning because he's a Delphi user or just because, you know, people die from drowning, that won't kill him. But Blackbeard, on the other hand, Blackbeard has the ability to literally take away your Delphi power. It's different from how seawater or sea stone or armament hockey works. It literally takes away Delphi powers. And I think if Blackbeard actually touches Brook and, like, activates his power, I think Brook might actually die if his soul is within, like, unless he's done, like, the soul body split thing, I think he will actually die if Blackbeard touches him. Because if he deactivates Brook's Delphi power, his skeleton can't survive by itself. Like, it would just crumble, I think, or turn to dust. So I think Blackbeard will kill him just because it fits with my theory that he will take everything that's dear to Luffy away from him, or at least most of it. And it fits with the theory that Brook has to die. And also just the fact that Brook really seems to be immortal and who the fuck else would kill him. So yeah, that's my video. It almost half an hour. God damn it, I did not mean to talk for that long. Yeah. But that's my list of people. I'm just gonna stop talking. You can leave a like if you liked anything that I had to say or the predictions I had. Leave in the comments below who you think will die in One Piece. Try not to keep, like, the list too long because you could probably spend like an hour typing out 50 characters who you think will die. So try to keep it to, like, the 3 categories I mentioned. So, like, Wano, major characters, non-Straw Hat version, and Straw Hats. And I would really, especially with the Straw Hats, or if you have a very, very strong vision for someone else, but especially with the Straw Hats, if you have a strong vision or just a vision for how any of these characters will die, please do tell me, because I really want to know. Also, just a disclaimer, I don't think that these 3 Straw Hats that I mentioned will necessarily be the only ones to die, but those are the 3 that I am positive will die in the series. I also have some characters I think, like Sanji and Nami and Chopper, for me, are, like, guaranteed to survive the entire series. I do not see them dying at all. Robin, Frankie, and Usopp, they're kind of, like, in my gray list. I do think Robin and Frankie will live, though. But Usopp especially, he's, like, I'm 50-50 on him. And I think there's, like, a 30% chance of Robin and Frankie dying. They're also, like, a pair. I think they'll die together, if anything. So, but I feel strongly that they'll live together also. Even if you ship them or if you don't ship them. I know a lot of YouTubers don't, but I think they're cute. But then again, I'm also not a fan of romance in One Piece, so I don't really care how that ends out. But yeah, now I'm gonna stop talking so this doesn't exceed 30 minutes. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time, bye.